Yeah, we're starting the last edition of Only Weird Games without Nate Taylor. The last edition before the NFL draft, I should say. The show's not going anywhere permanently.
Holy crap, man.
Just not going to be here on Thursday. So, like, yeah, I understand. You might think, well, we're just Josh and Seth are getting going without Nate with, like, on such basically the eve of the NFL draft. And listen, folks, you guys talk on and on and on about how you want to move up. You want to get Rome Odunze, and then suddenly we ship Nate off to somewhere else, and it's, I regret the consequences of my actions. Well, it's the NFL draft, bucko. Buckle up.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Iced Pyro in the chat says Nate's fielding calls about a trade for Tucker. He hasn't heard an offer he likes yet. I can't say what Nate's working the phones for, but he will join us momentarily here in this pre-draft edition of Only Weird Games. I guess a whole lot of these shows have been pre-draft editions because they've all been leading up to it. And now the man, the myth, the legend is here. Nate, all you missed was the cold open. And you can tell us, did you in fact find a trade package to ship Tucker off? Because frankly, I don't want to downgrade it, producer. But if it means, an upgrade and maybe a fourth host, I would understand. Tucker has cut Nate's mic out of protest, is what I'm going to choose to believe while Nate fixes his microphone. Seth, you had a funny thing to say, I think. Well, Nate's back.
Sure. No.
That's not the right mic, Nate. You can work on that if you want. Here's what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, boy.
The Chiefs.
I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why this is happening.
Back. As long as you talk out loud through it, it means it's impossible for us to do anything other than troubleshoot.
Correct.
So I think that's the most important thing we can do here.
Can everybody hear me?
We got you, baby.
Okay. No, I did not field calls in regards to Tucker. I would like to tell our audience that, I wouldn't say I broke bread with Tucker on Saturday, but I did see him on Saturday night at Kauffman Stadium as we watched the most horrendous inning of the entire season, kids. The second inning, 7-run extravaganza where the umpire literally didn't want to call a third strike to get us out of the freaking second inning against the Baltimore Orioles. Shout out to Tucker. Shout out to his lovely girlfriend, Tara. They got to see Hayden in action, the comedian he is. He immediately wanted to get a Bobby Witt jersey. Son, they've scored 5 runs. We're down 5-0. No, Dad. I didn't come here to watch baseball. I came here to get a jersey and occasionally some baseball. So no, we some teams do Top Golf. Me and Tucker did the Royals game, and ultimately to bring this home, I just wanted to let Tucker know that no, he's not going anywhere. He's our producer of the future and the now.
He's our guy.
He's our guy.
Those are the words of doom. Now, are you saying he's our guy the way like Clark Hunt said it about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones? Are you saying it like the Cardinals said about quarterbacks or the Broncos said about quarterbacks, or like which way is he our guy?
The former. We're not gonna trade for you and then immediately move you into, the third spot on the depth chart, i.e. the Denver Broncos. We're also, oh my God, they're saying mean things about our uniforms. What can we do? Trade for Zach Wilson. Trade for him immediately. They don't love these new jerseys. Hey, how soon can the throwback video be ready? How soon can the throwbacks be ready?
I love that. They did not let it get too hot before they're like, you know what, we were going to actually wait. If we were going to wait till tonight to do the throwback thing, no one likes these. Let's go ahead and remind people of the good uniforms we could have chosen.
Shout out to Diana Rosita, who was like, why don't they just wear those jerseys 24/7? And I was like, great point.
Everybody has a lot of similar, very good questions. Denver, this shouldn't have been that hard. But in fairness, their New Jersey has triangles all over it. So we this triumvirate and this quartet extending to Tucker, hopefully we're going to be here for a very long time. You know who will be here for a very long time, and then we're going to spend 90% of the rest of the show on the draft side of it all. But the Chiefs announced that they have contract extensions for, in all of their publishing, in this order, Mark Donovan, Brett Veach, and Andy Reid. The big three, as we often call that trio of people. have had nothing but perfectly good experiences with Mark Donovan, but I did think it was funny. It's like the architects of a dynasty, Mark Donovan, Brett Veach, and Andy Reid, which on some level is absolutely true.
Right, I was going to say.
Not on the football side as much.
Mark Donovan's, he's been there the longest.
Yeah, he also he lost his Super Bowl this month. So I don't know. I'm just
or
glad
did he, Josh? Did he?
He won his Super Bowl this month. That's a great point.
He won his Super Bowl.
That's a great point. Mark Donovan made his money in April. Andy Reid and Brett Veach have at least paid off their money in February. I shout out to Mark Donovan and anybody who may show this clip to Mark Donovan. I didn't.
Please, somebody give this clip to Mark Donovan, please.
I just thought it was funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2011 Miami Heat, Chris Bosh.
Guys, nowhere across the KC Sports Network, social medias, websites, article info, iTunes info, nowhere does it say Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor. I'm happy to be Mark Donovan. I'm happy to go out there and to deliver the concession speech when necessary. I just thought it was funny.
Or the maybe in the NBA they do it differently. Actually, the ladies and gentlemen, your 2011 Miami Heat, Andy Reid, Brett Veach, and the one and only Chris Bosh. That kind
Chris
of thing.
Bosh was important. I bet Mark Donovan loves being Chris Bosh, and I bet he is well compensated for the great work he's done. Go ahead, Seth. What were you going to say?
I have no opinion on this particular subject.
This is why you tune in, kids, because who didn't know Mark Donovan was going to get
That's me.
6 minutes of airtime.
That's me.
The
being
Chiefs wanted
Leo.
to talk about him first. He's first in the order.
Part of the
longest.
Well, he has been here helping establish the dynasty since he became team president in 2011. So he was laying the groundwork.
The dynasty began. Yeah.
Yes, we often talk about that.
You don't get Andy Reid without Mark Donovan. I want everybody to know that.
That's fine. I take no serious issue with any of this.
You don't
We
get Brett
should be
Veach
using
without Andy Reid. And you
We
don't
should-
get Mark Donovan without Clark Hunt.
I made
You
a
don't
mistake.
get Clark Hunt
Listen.
without Lamar Hunt. You don't get Lamar Hunt without Mayor Bartle. And you don't get Mayor Bartle without the Kansas River.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and without shape. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I accidentally made this jokes with Mark Donovan as the jumping off point, and none of that. I made a horrible mistake as a host because I gave us a red herring of going over toward Mark Donovan jokes.
And we
when
chased
this
it.
all should have been about how difficult it's going to be to report that Andy Reid's going to retire after this year's Super Bowl in the midst of another multi-year extension. That's what we should have been talking about how the sausage gets stuffed. That's what we should have been doing in this conversation.
You know, I just wanted to let you guys know that I do have life insurance, and that also we've had conversations with family members about what would happen in the event that Jazz and I both died simultaneously. And so, I mean, I guess what you could report is that family members are bracing for Jazz and I's imminent death. I mean, you could say that. Well, they're bracing for the possibility. I'm sorry, bracing for the possibility. And let me tell you, if you really just wanted to be just a slick linguist of words to where you could say something that's technically correct, but it is absolutely meaningless, you could say Seth's family is bracing for the possibility of his potential death. And then when I didn't die, which maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know, I'm not God, but you could say, well, I never said Seth was going to die. I didn't say that. That's not what I said. I'm a reporter. That's not what I said. That is the most annoying, pedantic, pseudo-intellectual garbage that somehow ended up being a storyline in the Super Bowl because someone who peddles his trade in that crap is allowed to rub elbows with people like Peter freaking King.
I am getting sources now saying, Seth, that you are expected to die within the next 60 years or so, but it could come as early as today. So make sure you're being careful operating as you go. And listen, it's just how it works. I have checked my sources, and Mark Donovan has not directly texted me to tell me that I personally am wrong. So I'm going to say, sources say that we expect Seth Keysor to perish at some point within the next. Well, listen, we're all hoping it's 80 years. We're all prepared for it to be 60 to 70, but it could be as early as today.
We're bracing for it.
Bracing. I just want to remind people when it comes to Mike Florio, and somebody please
Whoa,
send this to him. Somebody please send this to Mike Florio, because hell, if everybody beefing, I might as well join the fray. Here we go, kids. Just because you have a website, just because you have sources, does not make you a journalist. Okay. Let's get that clear, all right? Just because you put something on the internet and are not willing to accept that, I don't know, it was inaccurate information, doesn't make you a journalist. So we can now move on to the beloved 2024 NFL Draft.
Thank you, dear listeners and viewers, for coming here to KC Sports Network for your pro football talk. Let's talk about what could happen at 32, before 32. We're all glad that the trio is in Kansas City for the long haul. Those jokes are the most interesting part of it. And there's some stability in the front office that just went back to back. That makes a lot of sense. We're all good with that. Let's talk about the draft then. Seth has put a bow on the Know Your Receiver Draft Crush series, and he had to do it with I would say, to actually work on your usual brand, Seth, you had to write in the margins a little bit to cram everything in, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I imagine, Nate, you will probably lead us to receivers as well, because you have a full mock on The Athletic now that I think is fascinating and has two players we absolutely must talk about today. But also, you have a look ahead to what the Athletics beat reporter mock is going to be when it comes out tomorrow. You told Seth and I you wanted to talk about it, but we don't know what actually happens because it's not out yet. So, Nate, what have you done with your final selections just 48 hours removed from the NFL draft?
Okay, guys. Yeah, somebody clip that and send that directly to Mike Florio. Hopefully in his direct
and
messages.
Send it to every single national media person that has no problem dunking on lower people that don't have agent buddies that say that sit TV time with him and have none of them that had the guts to look him in the eye and say, so they're preparing for the possibility they might retire. Wouldn't they be stupid if they weren't? Isn't that what every business does with older employees? So aren't you just really just stating something obvious and phrasing it dramatically just to pretend that you're reporting something? None of you who sit and share a television studio had the guts to say that. And that's gross, because a lot of you are professionals who actually report stuff, and it makes you look stupid. It makes you look bad, and it makes the general public doubt you, who actually does the legwork, that you don't have the guts. And I don't know if it's because he's got agent sources. I don't know if it's because his site is extremely popular. Good on you, Mike. You were the first one to figure out internet aggregation. Congratulations. And so great, you make a ton of money doing it, and so you just get to, make up crap, and not even make up crap, pretend that something's a report that is just someone doing their due diligence and pretend that it's a report. I'm embarrassed. I'm so sorry, because I dragged us back in there.
Great.
But it is embarrassing to me, and all these people that would look down. Well, you're just a former blogger with a Substack. You just pretend to look at the film. Blah 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 blah. What I do requires work and time and commitment and dedication. What he did was something that literally anyone could do. And the people that actually do put in the legwork and the time and the dedication, they share a screen with him. And instead they say, oh yeah, you heard that? Oh, and then they let him go on these ridiculous, the way he sounded was like, well, you'll note the exact language of it. And none of them said, dude, isn't that just pseudo-intellectual crap what you just said? And all of them are smart enough to know this. And it makes me sad that in our industry, if you know enough people, you're allowed to get away with garbage like that with no one, even people that know better, just don't call it out right there in person. It's gross. Anyway, I'm sorry. We were talking about Nate's final drafts.
Amazing. Now,
talking about Nate's final draft, so Seth had to empty his. I like it.
Yep.
Intellectual garbage.
What was the man's not hot?
Get out. Hey, hang on, hold on. There's a great comment in here about me. that I am hot and articulate. Thank you, M. Brisco. I really appreciate that.
Huge
Oh,
jazz. No, that is from my mom.
Okay,
Yeah, Seth is hot and articulate. I love the passion. Interesting. Has your wife seen the Deadpool Wolverine trailer or not yet?
You know what? Stop it. Stop it. That doesn't even exist. Jazz never needs to learn. She has not. She never needs to learn.
I'm going to text her while Nate talks about his draft.
Okay.
I hate my life.
You brought my mom into it.
Obviously,
I mean, if you brought something my mom said about you in the chat to it, but
clip the last 10 minutes and send it directly to Mike Florio,
including this part.
What I don't want you to do is tell my employer that I'm about to give you not intellectual property, but some before published content. Okay, here we go, kids. Are we ready for the mock draft from the beat writers? Now, this is the best example I could give you to give you an idea, an impression of what it's like on draft day when as Brett Veach told us on Friday, I'm open for business. I'm open for business, and hell, I'm even willing to pay a little bit of interest to go up, right? I'm willing to go up as high as you'll let me. The Chiefs have told just about everyone in the league, hey, would you like the 32nd pick? Because I want to move on up. Now, with that being said, saying that is easy. Doing it is a little bit more complicated and difficult. Here's where it gets troubling. We know what the first, say, 3 picks are, right? And now that we know what those are, and now that we understand, the trio of great receivers, what gets really fascinating is the draft kind of starts at 6 or 7, depending on your perspective, right? And so a lot of people will say, well, Nate, I want the Chiefs to move up. What will it take? Okay, that's fine. It's going to be more difficult than you anticipate because there are other adults involved who have their own issues, agendas, parameters, things they want for their team, right? So obviously, this is my expertise, allegedly, covering the Chiefs against everybody else who covers their team for us at The Athletic. Now, the Chargers have traded to the Vikings, so the Vikings are now 5th. So the Vikings have taken J.J. McCarthy. Already, we're off to a beautiful start. 4 quarterbacks have been taken in the top 5 in the draft. As a Chiefs fan, you probably want that to happen because that means more talented, perhaps more capable, perhaps more productive players are, slowly sliding down.
And we want to see Bo Nix and Michael Penix drafted as well in the first round.
Two different quarterbacks that should be drafted 2 different times.
Now, if this happens on Thursday, it would be amazing, okay? Charlotte Carroll, shout out to our girl. She made a brief appearance when I was at the owners' meetings. She covers the Giants. The Giants are taking Malik Neighbors at 6. Okay, perfect sense. Totally perfectly. You don't want J.J. McCarthy? Sure, let the Vikings do it. Sure, let them do somebody that may never be a Pro Bowler. Okay, take the Pro Bowl capable receiver. But kids, Josh, something happened at 7.
What happened at 7?
And it enraged me, okay? But it's also totally logical. The Tennessee Titans of 7 should probably take Joe Alt. But see, I want Joe Alt. I want the best left tackle in the draft, okay? I want to move all the way up to 8 with the potential of maybe having Joe Alt, because of this weird circumstances with the quarterbacks and the receivers, sliding to 8. But you know what happened at 7? The Buffalo Bills traded up to 7.
Interesting. I thought it might have been Cincy.
Right. So my guy Joe Biscala in Buffalo.
How the bleep did Buffalo get up there?
The Titans get picked 28, 60, 133, 160, and next year's first round pick to get 7 and the 106th pick from the Tennessee Titans. Now the Titans
and they took Joe Alt with that in this mock?
No. Buffalo Bills took Rome Odunze.
Oh,
yeah. It makes sense, but I'm out at that cost.
So we are already off to a blazing start, kids. Now, I want to get
Roma Dunze had better have a failed senatorial campaign surrounded by scandal to eventually make that trade up worth it.
But look, you're trying to get. I understand it. You're
He's
trying
a
to get
senator.
Josh Allen a legit number one receiving option after you've traded away.
Well, I mean, because God knows, I mean, he'll
Stephon
never be able to
Diggs.
win a Super Bowl without a number one wide receiver option.
Never be
I
able to
do
win
that.
another one. Yeah.
See, I knew this was going to be great.
He might keep getting bounced from the playoffs by Patrick Mahomes if he's got like I don't know, a top 5 wide receiver or something. Or I think it could be terrible.
I knew this was going to be great because there was going to be jokes involved. Now, look, guys, I want to get to 8, okay? And now here's the poll question that I want to ask both my co-host and the audience. I want to get to 8, and Joe Alt, the best left tackle in the draft, is still available. What will it take for me to convince my colleague, Josh Kendall, in Atlanta to give me the freaking 8 pick? Because at first, I said, look, how about 32, next year's 3rd round pick, and the Titans' 3rd round pick, knowing that's not enough. Josh says, hey, man, that's not enough, and you got to come with more. And I say, okay, that's fair. This is literally what happens on the night of the draft. You give them the fake trade, they say no, then you give them the real trade and hope that the trade can happen. Okay, Josh, your ownership, Seth, you're Andy Reid. I offer 32, the 3rd round pick this year, number 95, a 2025 2nd round pick, and the Titans 2025 3rd round pick. Are you comfortable with me giving these to the Atlanta Falcons?
And one of them.
Seth's been watching receivers for a month and a half, Nate.
No, we still have our 64th pick.
Yes, we still have 64, 32, 95, 2nd round pick next year, and the Titans 3rd round pick next year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised that would be enough without another first rounder to sweeten the pot.
Yeah, I'd do that. That cost to make that jump is understandable. I would not make that trade for Joe Alt.
Josh said no.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the Atlanta Falcons said no. And so Joe Alt is gone.
That's fine.
But let me tell you guys, because of this, and I don't know if this will happen, but essentially he was not willing to take 4 picks because he was willing to trade with the New Orleans Saints. That's how chaotic this night could be on Thursday.
It could be.
But it keeps the thing in the trade up discourse that maybe we'll talk about receiver plenty. Sorry, Seth. I've been thinking about this today in a way that I should not have been this long or this much. But the thing with the trade up discourse that's so difficult is you have to be pretty sure, I think, that you're trading up to get in under an apron level of before a drop off, a pocket of talent,
yes, right?
You also have to be pretty convinced. The other team has to be convinced that that's not what you're doing. Like they have to say, like, yeah, we want to move all the way up for Joe Wall, and your first pick in this year's draft is going to be at 32, where you're going to get a tackle basically as good as Joe Wall. It's like that's weird. Well, then why are you making that big jump up? It's such a big leap there that I was going through some of those trade up looks earlier today, and I don't think that the juice is there in terms of being able to reasonably pay that price, even as I am top 3 receiver curious. Because that would be the guy that, to me, if Badunze was there at 12, I'd be doing some math on my trade calculator.
Right. Now, what Josh ultimately does, and which is interesting, I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong, is if the Saints want to come up to 8, they're giving 14 and 45 to the Falcons. So the Falcons are moving back ever so slightly and are getting an extra pick. They're getting 45, they're getting a 2nd round pick.
And they're still getting a guy they're 100% going to have a first round grade on.
Correct. That is the assumption. And so instead of getting 4 picks, they just get 2 and they don't get any future picks. That's sort of the push-pull that the Chiefs will have to do, I think, on Thursday to really move up. Hey, can we convince another team that our picks in next year's draft are valuable enough instead of a team sliding down and getting an extra pick in this year's draft? That's why I think this exercise is useful and informative to our readers at The Athletic. You should go check it out. You can get a discount code. Hey, Dane Brugler's got 400 prospects that he's graded and evaluated, and you should read about it because clearly we have. And that's, I think, a addition to KCSN's own draft guide, which is obviously Chiefs specific. So you get the grand view from Dane Brugler, and then obviously you get the Chiefs perspective from the guys obviously that we love and respect here on KCSN. Now, That's actual insight that I want our listeners and hopefully readers at The Athletic to understand. I tried, guys. I tried to move up. It's really hard.
It's really hard to move up. So who did you end up ultimately picking? If it's apparently, I'm just going to do Josh's.
I don't want to get Nate in trouble.
So
the Saints,
the
Saints took Joe Alt. I just want to make that clear.
But Bears, I could not care less who the Saints take.
The Bears took Brock Bowers at 9.
Stop giving away picks of teams you don't cover. Give away your pick.
Who did the Colts take?
Do you want to know who the Raiders took? Do you want to know who the Raiders took?
No, I don't want you to get in trouble, and I do want to go through your already published 7-round Chiefs mock.
Don't tell my bosses. Don't tell my bosses. Okay, are you ready for who I took?
Yes.
Oh, because it's not gonna make you happy. I don't think.
Right. Good.
Yep.
Good.
It's not gonna make you happy, kids. So John reached out to me, which I thought was interesting. John covers the Dallas Cowboys for us. He has pick 24. He said, hey, if it goes a certain way, you interested in coming up? And I just said, yeah, because Josh is being a hard ass with the Atlanta Falcons. So the Chiefs have traded the 32nd pick and the 95th pick, a third rounder, for the 24th pick.
Ooh, kids, that's not bad.
Thank you. Hey! Let's hear the pick. Got a not bad from Coach Seth Keysor. I don't know
where. God is my witness. If Brian Thomas Jr. is available and it's not for him, I'm going to cry.
He's not. Kids, it went dark real fast. It went dark. Cooper DeJean ain't even there at 24. But damn it, we moving up. We took Kingsley.
I knew you traded up for Kingsley.
Yes, I traded up for Kingsley.
Crap's a Kingsley.
He's the tackle from BYU whose last name we gave up on. Seth, the tackle who's frequently mocked between 25 and 65.
Sorry, Kingsley. Mm-hmm. I took Kingsley at 24 because there's a run on tackles and he's the last one left. So Suamatiel. God, I'm so bad, Rich. Thank you for the help. Yeah, we went from 32 to 24 to get a true competition at left tackle, which Brett Veach said on Friday is his goal, if it's possible.
You could also get a true competition at left tackle by calling the guy who started for you all year last year, including
but you can't win a Super Bowl with Donovan Smith at left tackle.
Obviously, that's a choice that's still on the board. Also, if you're asking, well, Nate,
if people can't see my face, I'm making a sarcastic dad face.
Yeah. If you're asking, hey, where's this receiver?
Be nice to Nate in the comments, people.
He's gone.
Your mock draft sucks too. All right.
Oh, of course it does. I'm not saying I'm
a good one that he's not allowing us to talk about, so he can spoil the rest of his colleagues' work.
Yep. Pretty much. Yep.
You know what?
Yep.
So Nate, I'm curious. So at 24, was Bowers gone?
Yep.
He already
Thomas is gone.
Yep.
Worthy's gone.
No. Worthy's too high at 24 in my opinion.
Can I ask, how many receivers were off the board when you traded up?
5. Okay.
It gets, like I said, it gets dark. It gets dark really quick.
But 3 of those guys are like aliens who we're not even worked up about. And then we'll get to Seth here in a second, but Seth has a one-man tier 2, and then 4 guys in tier 3 that were mostly available. There's a lot. There's not going to be 8 receivers off the board by 32.
Right. Here's who John selected at 32. Zach Frazier, center from West Virginia. That's how dark it is at 32, kids.
You know,
he took a center.
What if the Niners are willing to trade Brandon Ayuk for?
Oh, now we're talking.
Let's take a break. This one's for me.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Hey, Tucker, also throw the... Oh, what's this?
Just hear me out for just a second.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead and do the other thing first.
It got real dark in the draft room.
Tucker, throw the slate up because I need to tell people about what's going on the next several days right here on KC Sports Network. The KCSN draft show presented by Holiday Distillery will be streaming live starting at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, 5:30 p.m. These are all Central Time, obviously. 5:30 on Friday, 10:30 on Saturday, and then also at 11 a.m. on Sunday. I don't even know what that is, but I do know I am going to be up there at Holiday Distillery for the draft celebration party that is going to be an absolute hoot. You can register to attend that at any of the KCSN socials. Go sign up there. There's a Google form you got to RSVP through so they know how many people are going to be there, when to cut it off, whatever. But I'm going to be there. I'm very excited for Sunday's festivities up there at Holiday. But again, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you got live streaming content for you here on KCSN. This is our last show before the draft. We'll be back a week from today on Tuesday, same time, same channel.
Sounds like it might be quite the boondoggle.
Mm-hmm.
Josh said a hoot, and people said things in the comments.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast.
Huh. What happened there, do you think? What do you think that one was?
Oh, man. So, I
sorry, I said I don't read the comments when I'm talking during the show. But if you want to try that.
What do you think about while you do that then?
Can I give credit to D-Mac, my guy D-Mac in the comments? Hallelujah. Sure. Quote, the best part of this, the beat writer mock draft, is if you think the pick by Nate is bad, Kingsley at 24, quote, you will see at least 5 picks Thursday and Friday night that are much worse, and that might just be from an AFC West team.
That's so true.
Nice.
And so good.
So
I want to introduce Nate's 7-round mock, and then we can get into the rest of your receiver work, Seth, if that works for you. Just that, Nate, you have your 7-round mock up on the Athletic, and you do make the jump up from 32 to 22 with the Titans' 3rd-round pick and a future 6th-round pick. You get up 10 spots at that cost to select Seth's guy, Brian Thomas Jr., who, as we've talked about some, and I'll tell you again here, that in terms of big three and everybody who's not the big three, yes, Seth has Brian Thomas Jr. alone as wide receiver 4, tier 2. He's on his own there. You're able to move up and make that pick, and a name that I just don't think we've said on the show yet that we absolutely need to say because the lab is ahead of us on this one. The NFL Draft Twitter, Chiefs Twitter, everyone's looking around and saying, that guy with 2 first names out of Houston, Patrick Paul, sure looks pretty dang chiefy. Seth, he's an offensive tackle.
Yep.
He's tall and has all of the things that you would like for a Chiefs offensive tackle prospect to have. You got him by trading. You traded up in the 1st and then back out of the 2nd, and you got Patrick Paul 10 picks. You moved up 10 picks in the 1st and then down 10 picks out of the 2nd, kind of evened out your cost there. And for me, Nate, you got 2 players who I would be thrilled if you just said, hey, the Chiefs at 32 and 64 or 22 and 74 or wherever it needs to be, those are your first 2 players out of this draft class. I'd be tickled.
Yeah, and it's, that's with the draft simulator from Pro Football Focus. So I want to give them a shout out as well because I like theirs. I think ESPN's draft simulator is a little finicky. Their simulator lets teams trade above you, and that gets really frantic. Similar to
that
what
sounds
occurred.
So stressful.
Similar to what occurred in the actual beat writer mock draft. Why is Buffalo at 7? Like that's literally what my face did when we did the exercise yesterday as an NFL staff. It's so much fun. It's one of the few draft exercises I actually get up for. But yeah, with this mock draft, several things have to go a certain way. And I think that's what this mock draft sort of instructed to me is that it's possible, but man, everything's got to fall right between the quarterbacks, the tackles leaving. So you're saying, okay, we won't get a tackle. Maybe we'll get a receiver. Some defensive prospects kind of going in that mid-tier level, in the teens, I guess. And then a team being willing to trade with you. And so, interestingly enough, I know, and I think a lot of people have said this before, I'm not the first, but the Philadelphia Eagles want to get a lineman. Okay, the top linemen are gone. So they might actually be interested in trading down to get to that next tier of linemen. Well, if the Buffalo Bills don't trade up, if the Cincinnati Bengals, stay put and deal with their own line situation, then maybe you could trade up and get Brian Thomas Jr., who's slightly fallen more than you would anticipate. And so that's sort of what came to be. And then I just have to remind everybody, a mock draft isn't real unless you feel real pain. And, and I felt real pain in that second round. I think I texted the guys. Let me see if I can find it here real quick on my computer. I texted the guys all the players I wanted at 64, and then they took them all. They took them all from me. It was so painful because I had no way of trading up, for obvious reasons. But yeah, let me look it up. Marshawn Keelan, love that pick. I don't even think he's going to get to 60. He's a defensive end from Western Michigan. Love that dude. Christian Haynes, that's probably that's the All-American guard. You should probably look him up. He falls kind of into the Chiefs range in the second round. He went to the Detroit Lions. Okay, fine. And then both of the, maybe tackles left. The tackle from Yale, and then Kingsley got all the way to 63. And he was taken by the San Francisco 49ers. So that led to the trade down because I didn't like anybody at that point, and I didn't want to overpay for anybody because I just did that technically to overplay for, Brian Thomas Jr., who slightly fell in the first round. So you don't want to do an overpay on back-to-back picks. Ask Brett Veach about that. He did it in 2018. How'd it turn out? So moving down made logical sense. And then, yeah, I feel like, okay, Patrick Paul's sort of the last guy available in that tackle tier range from a talent standpoint, and then you just try to fill in spots from there. So you could see something like that happening. I think Brett Veach is more interested in trading up than trading down in the first round, or trading out of the first round, I should say. And I do think if things go right, he would be okay with potentially trading down or trading out of the second round to get two picks in the third round.
I think that's a sustainable way to do it. If you are going to kind of play that math and do the my guy thing and be aggressive that way, I do think finding ways that you're able to replenish on the fly is really smart. And again, like responsible.
Trying to be, yes.
Try. We are only at the 37-minute mark here, guys. We are going to now click down to the third or fourth, depending on how you're counting it, topic of the show. I'm going to tell both of you and the audience, and then we'll see if we're able to come through on this. I'm happy to spend a long chunk of time talking about the wide receivers in general. Seth has looked at so much tape since the last episode that going like player by player is probably not worth it here, but I will refer back to what you've got, Seth, and let people know what they can do there. You can get as specific about any of these players as you want. You can be dismissive of Malachi Corley, or anyone, whatever. So with that being said, the Draft Crush series is done on the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. You can subscribe there for $12 a year. And, it's not, I guess there's the finale of it is still coming. Is that what your finger was up there for, Seth? The film reviewing is done. It was like 8 parts of individual breakdowns, and then like a 6-parter here at the end of a little bit of a speed round for several fascinating options at wide receiver. But Seth, you've now watched a lot of receiver film. You've written a lot of words about those receivers. If I go big picture here right now, specifically from the Chiefs' vantage point, what did you learn about the 2024 wide receiver class, noting that in your eyes and for the Chiefs, it starts after the top 3 wide receivers in this draft class, which is crazy.
Right. I didn't bother to look at the top 3 guys, partly because I didn't want to get bummed out. And partly because it's basically considered there's no shot that any of the 3 of them fall to, let's say, 13-ish. Because I just have a hard time seeing the Chiefs trading up to 9.
That's the Raiders. That's the Raiders pick. You would have to trade up past the Raiders because they have 13. Unless the Raiders want to trade to 9 to get, Michael Penix Jr.
And so, yeah,
I can't. Don't. I'm sorry. I have to make a decision to not let that distract me. Keep going, Seth. That
sounds good.
That rabbit has been blinded out.
So I ignored them and I looked at 16 guys. 9 of them got or 8, 9, 10. Some of them got, like you said, a really in-depth individualized breakdown where I look at various traits, speed, acceleration, agility. Those are 3 different things. Some guys have some guys have all, some guys have none, whatever. How you do getting into your routes. So, your releases, what your route running's like, whether contact bothers you, what your ball skills like, just basically, basic receiver stuff. And then we had a whole slew, the speed run, where I looked at Malik Washington, Ricky Pearsall, Roman Wilson, Devontae Walker, Jalen McMillan, Malachi Corley, and Jermaine Burton. And I just did like 2 paragraphs about each one of them, but I did watch several games on all 22 of them. My eyes hurt, and college quarterbacks are real bad. Like, holy crap. Like, even like the draftable ones, I'm like watching like Tez Walker, and I mean, his quarterback's supposed to be drafted really high, right?
Top 3.
And I'm like, throw the ball, man. Like, just dying. There were like, people were talking about like Jermaine Burton, like he has outbursts on the field. It's like, dude, because he is wide open and the man won't throw him the ball. He's like jumping up and down. Like you could hear him.
Parker Wilson will not put the ball there.
Whoever his quarterback is. It's so bad. So if I could do like some general takeaways, one would be there are a lot of players I liked. Multiple guys that and the tiers is dropping tomorrow. Okay. So where I'm going to rank them into 6 different tiers.
Sounds like the tiers were dropping throughout the reviews because you had to watch so many college quarterbacks.
Nice. So I enjoyed that one. So really, like when I get to the 4th tier is guys that I'm perfectly comfortable with the Chiefs taking at 64. That's like one little preview thing of it. And the reality is this is a really deep class. There's a lot of really good players. So even in the 4th tier, you're still talking good players with a good upside. And so the thing that I discovered is the draft lived up to its height up to its hype in terms of depth. I almost said height and depth because that you would know the height, the depth, and breadth of God's love for you. Anyway, so the hype matched the depth, much like I can't do that to you 2 things in a row. So there
God's
are guys
love
like if
for
you
us, Seth, is not bound. Okay,
the hype
it's
at
endless.
the cross was real,
It's
and
endless.
It is. So
His mercy and grace for us is eternal and
look
in an affinity. It just goes and goes and goes.
And just because you matter to him. Anyway, so four tiers deep, we're talking 10 players deep. I've got guys that I'd be perfectly happy with them drafting with the 64th pick. And even the guys that are in the 5th tier that I'm more like, I'm thinking more like 3rd round or later. If they drafted like Jalen McMillan at 64, I wouldn't love it, but I wouldn't hate it. And so the depth is real. That's one of the biggest things I would take away. The other thing, I'll give this one away for free. My 1st tier has 1 dude and 1 dude only. And that's Brian Thomas Jr. He is the one guy in this, when you get past the big 3, that I would trade up for in a way that actually mattered. Like, I'm not talking like trade up from 32 to 30, okay? I mean like trade up from 32 to like 20 or 19. I would do that for Brian Thomas Jr. The reason for that is, and we talked about this when I talked about his film review. He has game-breaking speed. He's got terrific acceleration. He's got good agility as well. It's rare to have all 3 of those things in one package. Some guys like, let's say, for example, Xavier Legette. Great top speed. Doesn't accelerate super well. Those are 2 very different things. Rashee Rice accelerates really well. Not great top speed. Remember we talked about this MVS versus Rashee Rice. Okay? Brian Thomas Jr., he explodes off the line, that first step. That's a big deal. And he has those 3 things. And he runs nuanced routes down the field. And he tracks the ball well. And he high points it. And he makes, I would just say in terms of Daniel, the Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Thank you. And because again, I don't really review the quarterbacks. I know he's got a lot of hype. I would just say this, he looks pretty good, but I would also say Brian Thomas Jr. made him look way more accurate than he was on a lot of deep throws because he just ran underneath it from halfway across the field. That's a nice thing to have. What Mahomes had last year was the opposite of that. Receivers that made him look less accurate. People have been saying for years about Tyler Lockett, deep ball accuracy is in large part a wide receiver stat. So he has all those things, plus, unlike the guys in the other tier, the tier right beneath them, where these are guys that'd be perfectly happy if they drafted at 32 or even like 30 or 29. He doesn't have a yeah, but. Remember the old ridiculous joke, yabbits live in the wood? But all these other guys in the tier below, they have a yeah, but. Like Adonai Mitchell, good film, runs good routes, looks explosive, has nice top end speed, looks like
yeah,
he can
but diabetes.
Yeah.
That's ableist of you, Seth. That's hateful. Find the new slant.
Oh, that's
If
wrong,
you're new,
Josh.
if you're new here, I also have diabetes, so this is my card.
Get his
Yeah,
sugar
no.
up.
That was good Lord.
This is my card because certainly my health insurance card is not helping as much as I would like for it to.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
and
that.
you know who could have healed him of that? Jesus. Anyway, so Adonai Mitchell, he's got a bunch of great traits, but the yeah but with him is, why was he not consistently productive in college? It just doesn't all quite add up, and it's a weird thing when you've got those physical characteristics and those traits, and you're like, ugh, yeah, it just makes you wonder. Xavier Worthy, mind-melting speed, and like the speed you see in the 40 time, it shows up all over the field. He runs good routes. He weaponizes it. He separates like crazy. I'm giving way too much of a preview of this. So I said,
You're
if
probably
you can
going
picture,
to unlock it
You're
anyway.
giving
so
way too
don't-
much.
Oh yeah, it's probably going to be
preview?
unlocked.
Nate,
Yeah.
Nate just
You're
read
giving way
you
too
a
much of a preview.
paywalled mock draft that other people did with him, and you're like, I don't want to tell you I don't want to tell you something that literally on the Brian Thomas Jr. on a tier of his own thing that Josh said 15 minutes ago when I wasn't listening.
Right. So here's what I would say about the tier 2 guys, the guys again that I would take. So I'll name them. And
This
then
is,
I'll
also
give you
this is also the group that I want to get into the most today. So,
Yep.
so spill the beans here.
Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Jalen Polk. Yeah, that's right. I said it. And Troy Franklin. And I'm done. Nope, I didn't say Ladd McConkey. You know who's close to that group just purely on film is Jermaine Burton. But I know we want to talk about this group. Here's the thing about these 4 guys: Worthy, Mitchell, Polk, and Franklin. If I picture myself with the Billy Bean scene, with the A's in Moneyball, where it's like, hey, this is Troy Franklin. He's really skinny, doesn't really win on contested routes. What does he do? And they all mumble, he gets open, he gets open. And that, all 4 of these guys, they get open. Time after time after time after time, including Jalen Polk, who does not have dynamic athletic traits, but just lives open, just constantly open, and also catches anything that's thrown in the stadium. Like, people can't throw their drinks to one another in the stadium because Jalen Polk will run up the stairs, dive after that thing, and one-hand it. I love Jalen Polk. I really do.
Seems like it.
I hope he crushes it. So that's the tier 2 group. I'd be very happy with any of them in the first round. Worthy, Mitchell, Polk, Franklin.
Okay, so just put this out again. You would be happy at 32. I'm going to say 4 obvious ones first, just to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
At 32, you would be happy with Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas Jr.,
Yep.
or the next tier begins for you,
Jesus. Yep.
Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Jalen Polk, Troy Franklin.
I think if we could
Yep.
get Jesus
And-
in the
and
second
honestly,
round, that'd be a real splash.
And honestly,
slash pickup.
my tier 3 are guys that I would trade up in the second round for. So, like, if Ladd McConkey or Ricky Pearsall get drafted at 32, I'd be like, I could see it.
Ricky,
So that is 8
Ricky
yeses.
is nice.
And that's 8 yeses and 2 maybes.
Yeah, that's a buttload of yes.
I know we talked about this last episode. I want to dig into it for 15 more minutes, but if you've got 8 yeses and 2 maybes, 8 guys you would happily take at 32, don't trade up for the 5th one. I understand if it's 3 or you have Ryan Thomas Jr. on a tier of his own. I'm conflicted about him being in a tier, how much more he would be worth than that next tier up there. But I think that makes for a fascinating group for teams like the Bills and the Chiefs who need receivers at the end of the first round. I don't have a gospel that I'm like banging on the table for on this one. I just think it's so genuinely fascinating. I said the table. I saw Seth looked at me. Somebody else talked.
No, that was great. I absolutely agree. And I understand that's one reason why the trading up factor becomes less appealing, especially in the first round. Now, if you're talking in the second round, I could see it a little easier. Like you wait for the first run and then see, well, who's left? Is Pearsall left? Is McConkey left? Is Burton left? Is Leggett left? Well, Javon Baker can play, man. He's even less athletic than Polk, so it's kind of like, I don't know.
You haven't mentioned Keon Coleman because you're not a huge fan. You're not
He
missing
can't
him.
separate. Keon Coleman is either going to be a 1,000-yard receiver like 8 years in a row, or maybe not quite in a row. He's not going to the Hall of Fame, or he is going to struggle to get on the field. That guy, you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't separate. He doesn't separate. That's right. Except the times when he bodily throws the corner out of his way, which is always hilarious, but I don't know if it's sustainable. Although he did it a lot. But that just is demonstrative. Keon Coleman is probably a surefire second rounder in last year's draft, maybe fringe first rounder. And me, he's 14th on my list. Like
Which
he's
is
below
actually
Roman
17th.
Wilson. Yeah, which is actually 17th. He's below Roman Wilson, who is literally half his size. all numbers approximate. But
So, Nate,
yeah.
with that rich of a group there, and obviously you've been going through, you already went through the
Yes.
mock draft walkthroughs and everything, but with that deep of a group there, do you get the sense that the Chiefs feel anything similar to that, or do they see, or are the Chiefs tiers big three and Brian Thomas, and then 2 through 10 are all the same guy, and so they're gonna take a tackle at 32 or move up to get a tackle and then play that game in the second round. And still, look, my heart right now is wide receiver at 32. That's where I'm starting from, I think.
Okay.
But if you say, hey, you got a tackle at 32 and this same depth logic holds up for you, don't move up at 32, take that pick and then move up from 64 and go get Ricky Pearsall before the board thins out. I'm also okay with that. I don't know if you think the Chiefs are.
I think the Chiefs board will be slightly different.
What?
I'm sorry, Seth. I'm pretty sure the scouts have a say. I'm pretty sure Andy Reid and Matt Nagy and Connor Embry have a say when it comes to the wide
Why would they when I've done all the work for them?
for the board. I've slotted this guy here, right? What I love is can just one time, like, I don't know, just like one time on a Saturday, because Saturday during the draft is a real slog. Just show us somebody's first round board. Just please, because it would be so interesting. But no, I think, and we said this, I think maybe remind me if I'm right. We said it at some point last week, Josh, that Brett Veach has a reputation.
Yeah.
He wants to uphold that reputation, which means he's probably trading up in the second round for a receiver. So because of that, if we learn anything from previous off seasons, we would know that board's a little bit different, where I won't say they have a line under a certain person who plays receiver in that second round range, but they definitely have a star next to that player's name. And
that person is Ladd McConkey and Ricky Pearsall, because they are literally the same guy.
And I think I prefer Ricky now, which is wild.
I think I prefer Ricky. I watched their
really
film.
like
They are
Ricky.
the same guy, except
really
Ricky's
like
a
Pretty
little taller
Ricky.
and faster.
And he makes
Are you still taking submissions?
outrageous catches. I mean, outrageous catches.
Are you still taking admissions for tier titles, Seth?
Oh, please no.
Because if for your Ladd McConkey, Ricky Pearsall tier, if you just want to call that white flight,
I had to put in that tier.
It's
just Ladd McConkey and Ricky Pearsall.
yeah.
Look,
I was like, look, I did not do this on purpose.
I think Ricky's gotta be above Ladd. Okay, I think Ladd is a bona fide second round pick, but if you want splash, you gotta put Ricky with a star on his name. Okay,
And either of them are guys that you'd be happy to introduce to your fan base or your parents.
on a Saturday
Either
afternoon
of them are
at
guys. They're
Arrowhead
both guys
Stadium.
that are incredibly coachable. They're the
You guys-
type of
you
guy
have
that
any-
you
hey,
can just sit
hey,
down
guys,
and eat some
hey.
barbecue with.
in 49 hours the draft starts. Anything else you'd like to say about any of the players who are going to be picked in it?
Okay. So look. I love Xavier Leggett. He might not be there. Okay. I don't really love Keon Coleman. Definitely means he's going to be a Kansas City Chief. So
Yeah, they're just gonna go a completely different direction. Oh, here's one. Jermaine Burton might have better film than almost anyone that we're talking about in this entire thing, besides maybe Thomas. Jermaine Burton lives open. That dude is always open. He's constantly open. He's open right now.
Legitimately, why is he down the board from the fan base whose team drafted Tyreek Hill once upon a time and all of that? I mean, this isn't.
He did smack a person that was coming onto the field, storming the field. And generally speaking, now I say smack because it was more of a smack and less of a slap.
I don't want to litigate that. Sorry, I should have asked someone who's not on this show to answer that question because I shouldn't have trusted either of you.
He may have
During a field storming.
Look, he may have
During a
some
field
off
storming,
the field,
he
but it was on the field.
He felt threatened, and he had to defend himself. Now, had that woman passed him by.
I don't need either of you to be either a lawyer or a jackass
okay,
now.
I'll stop.
I think a pretty large percentage of our audience doesn't know why you just said wide receiver 5 is going to be like a 3rd-round pick.
All right, I got you. So Jermaine Burton comes with apparently some character concerns. One of those stemming in terms from a hot-tempered incident. That was a really ugly incident where Alabama had lost a game. Or maybe it was the year before. It was a team he's on, lost the game. The other team stormed the field, so he probably played for Alabama. That makes sense. And while he was leaving the field, a gal ran in front of him and kind of like juked in front of him. I don't know if he thought she was being a dink or whatever. And then she started to run to the side, and he kind of threw his hand up and smacked her. Now, it wasn't, again, and here's the reason. I'm not trying to be a lawyer here. It wasn't like he punched her, slapped her, or it looked weird more than anything else, but definitely not okay. And obviously you see something like that and you're like, well, that's not how you want someone to handle it. Also, when I say he was jumping up and down on the field when he didn't get the ball thrown to him, that wasn't hyperbole. That was the God's truth right there. So the only incident that I'm aware of, and I even Googled Jermaine Burton off-field issues. The only thing I saw referenced was to that storming incident.
I've seen video of this. Does that exist?
It did.
Oh, yeah, it
I
does.
watched it.
Yeah.
I can find video of this.
And so it's not as bad as it could be, but that's not. I mean, there's a lot of things that aren't as bad as they could be. So the long and short of it, he issued an apology afterwards. That was he kind of said that shouldn't have happened, etc. And then sent some stuff about I won't let this define me, which is kind of, in my opinion, exemplary of immaturity. The idea that you kind of start acting like a victim midway through your apology. Just hey, fun tip for anyone under 35 or so listening to this podcast. If you're apologizing for something, don't start acting like a victim of some sort for being judged for your behavior midway through the apology. At least give it a day, right? Like, give it a day. Oh, you're still judging me for that? Well, dude, you're not even through your apology on it. Of course I'm still judging you on it. Like, just simmer down. You're not a victim because people are mad that you did something bad. That's not a victimization thing. That's society holding you accountable for being an idiot. So he might be kind of an idiot. I don't know. I don't know the man, but he did an idiotic thing that looked bad. And when you're the Chiefs and you've previously had idiots and you've currently got a guy who acted like an idiot, it's tougher to just kind of grind through that.
But what's his medical situation? Does he have any, is everything structurally sound physically?
I think so.
Then take them. Welcome to the NFL, kids.
Yep. And that's just it. And that's why Jermaine Burton is a guy that I could see being drafted higher than a lot of people are thinking, because people will say it's a one-off incident. We interviewed him, etc. He's got really good fluidity, flexibility, combined with overall athleticism. Really, genuinely, he makes sight adjustments on his routes. Like, he really looks like he knows what he's doing out there. So that's Jermaine Burton might be one of the best receivers on film in the draft. I think Pearsall's a little better than Ladd McConkey. Not a shot at Ladd McConkey. I like Ladd McConkey.
Correct.
I wouldn't draft Malik Washington or Malachi Corley. I don't think it's something they need.
Take them off the board, Jim.
But yeah, there's a lot to all this. But the reality is the Chiefs should at 64 have some options for some guys that I really like. Like if they're at 64 and suddenly it's like, oh, the only guys left are Leggett and Tez Walker and Jalen McMillan and Javon Baker, I'd be like, sweet. And Jalen Polk might be available then. That's my one.
Right.
I'm going to try to stand out a little bit. It's not really on purpose.
The star.
Jalen Polk gets open. He does not have great deep speed, but he managed to stack corners consistently. He runs good routes. He's got a little bit of quickness to separate underneath. He does everything you want a receiver to do in terms of like, hey, you are in trouble. I will find open space, and you throw that ball, and they are going to have to kill me to keep me from catching it. And a couple times I really thought he was dead, and he still caught it. Like so I really like Jalen Polk. If I were to pick like a dream scenario for the Chiefs, they'd double dip in wide receiver this year. That's one of my takes on this. This might be a draft to double dip at wide receiver because I don't know when you're going to get a chance like this again.
Seth, in your estimation, and this is coming from like Mike Berganzi, the assistant general manager, one thing he's always talked about is, inherently your job says receiver. Who catches the ball the best from your evaluation eyes? Because I always like to remind myself, no matter the separation, the speed, the route running, the jump ball ability, who catches the ball consistently the best among the receivers you've seen that are not the big three?
That would be, I hate doing this with a caveat that there's multiple guys with great hands. I think that's Polk. I think he's the guy that no matter where the ball is,
put a star on his name, Sarah. Sarah, give me one of those stars. Can you put a star next to him? Seth just said it. Okay, all right.
But man, a lot of these guys, Keon Coleman catches everything too, but like he kind of has to because
I know what you're talking about.
Because it's just like
every reception was like, I'm going to get money after this, right?
Yeah. Every reception was like a scene from 300. Where
I'm going to get money for this, right?
Just dude after dude coming after him in Zack Snyder's slow motion. Just boom.
Kids, I can't. Hey, ESPN.
And just jumping 8 feet in there. Really impressive catches.
ESPN, don't show ESPN NFL Network. When it comes to this young man, Keon Coleman, do not show his touchdowns. Show his middle of the field. I'm doing this to pay my grandmother's house. Because God, he took hits.
He took some shots. And he doled out some punishment. But honestly, Thomas has great hands. Adonai Mitchell has great hands. Lad McConkey and Ricky Pearsall both have great hands. Burton has great hands. Leggett grabbed everything near him. A lot of these guys catch the ball. And that, honestly, after what we watched last year, it's like, have my attention. Like,
yes, right.
Wait, you can. So even like Tez Walker, it's like, oh, you're a downfield threat that tends to keep running straight or like adjust to the ball while it's in the air. You have my attention. Like, these are guys there's a lot of guys that look like they could contribute.
What's your final pre-draft prediction, Josh? What is it, baby?
I'm gonna ask you guys to do the exact same thing with me because it's on. Hey, Seth,
you gotta go first.
It's on the rundown. That's fine. I'll go first. I'll go first. But it's on the rundown. It's there for all three of us. So let's go ahead and go around the room. I'm gonna expand it to 2 things from all of us.
Okay.
I want to know what you're like. Don't go 1 in a million. Rome Odunze is smoking weed out of a gas mask during the draft, and so he falls to 32.
From your lips to God's ears. And in today's climate, I don't think he falls.
I don't think he falls.
Today, someone would be like, "Well, what state is he in? That's probably legal." Like
he would have to be on Instagram Live with like needles in his neck, and I still would take him 15.
He's diabetic,
exactly. Yeah. Adonai Mitchell might have. He shouldn't. I know there've been questions about how he's managing his diabetes.
Hey, Sarah, he's smoking weed on Instagram Live. Move him up. Move him up a couple
Move
slots.
him up, actually.
Move
That's
him up.
Cool. That's cool. Have we considered drafting the coolest dude in the draft?
He's smoking weed right now? Put him up higher.
So not your best case Doctor Strange view, but I want to know what you think is like plan A. What plan A for you and what you think the Chiefs are going to do on draft night. Because plan A for me is keep my eyes open and keep that phone nearby, but most likely wait until 32 and then take the best receiver available of the top 3 tiers that Seth has gone through, noting that 4 guys make up the top 2 tiers on their own. That's plan A for me, and they're so drafting a tackle, man. It's like it is so happening.
The year that I didn't review tackles.
The year you didn't review tackles.
1,000,000%.
The year that you reviewed 1,000 receivers.
Yep.
And then I think if I had to put money on it right now, my parlay would be tackle at 32, receiver somewhere in the 50-ish range, not 50-ish, but the 50s range, trading up on day 2 for your favorite pick of that next run of receivers. But I would be really happy if they just sat there at 32 and then just squinted and looked over and said, yeah, wide receiver Texas. Yeah, that's fine. Because either one of those guys would make me very happy.
Yeah, I think logically they're going to, what they want to do, I think, is trade up either for a receiver or a tackle. How high, that gets debatable. Naturally, you can probably go up as high as maybe 20. The surprise would be if it's higher than 20, right? I know this is not going to knock anybody's socks off, but there's going to be an interior offensive lineman or defensive lineman in the first 3 picks. I'm sorry, guys. That's probably where we're headed. I
didn't want to mention, Nate took a guard with one of those 3rd round picks in his 7th round mock. Mm-hmm. And just to be clear, that's not a guy that you expect to play football for this football team in 2024, correct?
Right. Well, that would be best case scenario, which honestly was the case with Felix last year. Best case scenario, this guy never plays significant downs.
What I have 2 years to okay, go ahead. No, yeah, we'll talk about that after.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it's a violent sport, Josh, and you need depth. Don't forget that.
For sure. And that's why those premium picks they put into Laurent Duvernay-Tardif and Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley. Like you can't find those guys outside of the 3rd round.
Can't do it. What are
you doing, Seth? Seth just held his phone up.
You actually messaged my wife?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, we talk. Is that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, obviously.
I don't need to tell you every time your wife and I have a conversation about something.
Right. I mean, come on, man. We all know each other. Ultimately, what I want is the highest trade up possible. I want fireworks. I want explosives. I want they gave up too much. I want why did they take him and not him? Because when you trade up, kids, everybody's right and everybody's wrong all at once, and it's glorious. So look, if they somehow traded for Brock Bowers, give it to me. If Cooper DeJean is there at 22, make a move, damn it. If Brian Thomas Jr. somehow gets to 16, do it. Because the discussion around the team and the decision making that the team will make will all be fascinating.
So Josh did indeed message my wife and sent her the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine. Uh-huh. And I don't know what she sent you. Did she send you a response?
Yeah, we're talking.
So she told me, since Josh isn't going to share this, these are her proposed. Oh, no. Okay. Should I wait for us to be done?
I just did want to get your first round sort of preference and prediction. And then this could be the outro even on the other side of your preference and prediction officially. This is like lock it in, like Super Bowl preview. Go ahead.
She ran multiple responses by me, and I was busy podcasting because I was actually paying attention for once. It was weird.
Hey.
This is why I don't pay attention, because my wife might message me. So then she just says to me, well, you're ignoring me, so I'm going to go rogue. And so I have no idea what she sent you. No, I didn't know if it was too inappropriate. Oh, Lord. All right. Well, I'm just going to let you surprise me with that. So
probably means it is. Just FYI.
Yeah, anytime you wonder... no, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear this. But so for me, for the draft, I'm going to start with what I think the Chiefs will do. What I think they will do is trade up in the first round.
Yes.
For I think it's going to end up being a tackle.
All right.
And then I think they'll trade up in the second round for a wide receiver.
Hell yeah. Get me
In
home.
my-
I was texting
sooner.
Jazz back. Did you say trade up twice or wait?
Yes, he said
32
trade up
and-
twice.
With what picks? This is
Both third round picks next year are gone, Josh. They're gone.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think Veach will do. I think they want a tackle, and I think they want a
Look at his
receiver.
face.
And I don't think that's what I think they'll do. But that's not what I would do. I'm not advocating for it.
No, I know, but guys, like, there's a limited supply of resources here.
And we took Clark Hunt and we sent him to another room. Okay.
Yeah. Clark, ignore how this is going to affect your wallet in a few years. So here's what I wish they would do. Ultimately, I think they can skate by with one more year of Wanya Morris, see if he's what we're hoping he was. They just drafted him in the third round last year.
Third round last year.
So,
Third round
like-
picks that we care about right now.
Hey,
Exactly.
Hey, could be your future swing tackle.
He could be. And I think you run it
He
back
went with the
Donovan
same pick
Smith.
Nate just took a red shirt guard with. I don't understand.
Here's-
Nothing.
here's-
That new car smell is gone.
That's technically a
Here's-
fourth round pick taken at the last available spot in the third round.
It's like
I
the last
honestly-
available spot took compensatory picks behind that, right? I mean, if we're getting
Okay, sure.
My dream
Compensatory picks
realistic-
exist.
a top 100 pick.
Correct.
What I would do if I were the Chiefs, if Brian Thomas Jr. falls to say 1920, I would trade up for him. And then honestly, at 64, I'd grab another receiver. I understand doubling down, whatever, but I also think that you are cost controlling things for you. Now, will they do that? I don't think so, because I think they're optimistic about Rashee Rice and they don't want four receivers like fighting it out. But you don't know how Hollywood Brown's year is going to go. You don't know how his health is going to be. You don't know if he's going to be around in future years. And I don't know how many, maybe there'll be a bunch of draft classes like this one. But for me, that would be the route that I would choose to go. If Brian Thomas Jr. isn't available, I would sit at 32 and I would take, whether it's Worthy, whether it's Mitchell, whether it's Polk, whether it's Franklin, I'd take whichever one they like the best. That's what I would do.
With that being said, I do truly hope that people feel like they've gotten their time's worth of the draft previewing that we've done across the way here. Again, KC Sports Network is going to be your home for all things Chiefs draft coverage. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we got the party up at Holiday on Sunday. I'll be up there and certainly will be tuning in and hopefully hopping in a little bit. We'll see if we can, this crew can't make some cameos throughout the action throughout the week. Make sure you check that out. And then Seth, I'm going to make you an offer.
Okay.
To be my final work on this show today, and then Nate can officially get us out of here. I will read on this show, unedited, unfiltered, what Jazz sent to me in response. I will also read unedited what I sent back to Jazz.
We've known each other a long time. Let's get nutty. Everyone know before whatever's about to happen
No,
happens.
Jazz and I are cool.
Jazz and Josh
and I have
are
no-
cool.
This is not beef for me, and I'm not worried about me and Jazz.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Jazz and I are also doing fine, just so everyone knows. Our marriage is good. We're solid. I'm hopelessly in love with her, and she has a peaceful tolerance of me. So okay.
I sent the trailer to Jazz. I actually don't have her phone number, so I just Instagram messaged it to her. She got back to me right away. So clearly she's checking her Instagram DMs. That's good. So I sent her the trailer and just said, just want to make sure you've seen this. That was it. I chose no violence. I just wanted to make sure I thought the trailer was very exciting. The movie should be good.
Mm-hmm.
She said, OMG, I would totally go see this with Seth, but I think he's already going with your mom. She said, because he's so hot and so accurate, don't act like you don't listen to the show. And I said, hey, my dad's in great shape, so you better tell Seth to add a few more degrees to the treadmill incline. Now, Seth and I, after this episode today, can decide how that makes us feel about our relationship. But as long as the gym card keeps scanning, Seth, I'd say keep giving it a shot, you know? Maybe one day those claws will come
I've met
in.
your dad. He's significantly better looking and in better shape than I am. It's embarrassing, honestly.
How am I going to end this episode?
And if the Chiefs trade up for the fifth best tackle in this draft class, Thursday will still be the worst day of my week. And I gotta watch the Phoenix Suns tonight.
Okay. Wow. Okay, guys. And happy Draftmas. And hope your interpersonal relationships are as strong as these are. Please trade up, Chiefs. You're our only hope.